Good morning, and welcome to the First Existentialist Congregation of Atlanta. We are a philosophically based spiritual community founded on existential philosophy and feminist principles and dedicated to human liberation and the protection of the natural world. My name is Patton White, and I will be facilitating this morning's celebration of life. We make our spiritual home in the old stone church, which was hand-built 100 years ago by the African-American Antioch East Baptist Church. We honor their labors of love and the powerful history of this special place. We acknowledge that our spiritual home stands on land forcibly taken from the Muskogee Creek people. We support justice and equality for all indigenous people. Our opening words today are by James Sallis from Black Hornet. It takes a while for us to realize that our lives have no plot. At first, we imagine ourselves into great struggles of darkness and light, heroes in our Levi's or pajamas, impervious to the gravity that pulls down all others. Later on, we contrive scenes in which the world's events circle like moons about us, like moths about porch lights. Then, at last, painfully, we begin to understand that the world doesn't even acknowledge our existence. We are the things that happen to us, the people we've known, nothing more. Again, that is by James Sallis from Black Hornet. So today we have a very special celebration of life, in that the entirety is going to be made up of music shared by our presenter today. Craig Rafuse is a master carpenter, a musician, and an activist who has been involved in performing music and theater for 50 years. He's wandered through this country and through Europe and the Middle East. He's influenced by Chet Atkins, the Beatles, Phil Ochs, the Grateful Dead, Woody Guthrie, Thelonius Monk, and Pig Iron and the Back Bayou Band, not to mention Bertholt Brecht. He's sung for politicians in the statehouse and anti-nuke activists. He's especially proud of his involvement with community-oriented musical efforts such as those of Joyce Brookshire, Amanda Perdrew, and Brenda Boozer. Craig's music is eclectic and incredibly beautiful. Harmonies and accompaniment are rich and varied, showing a jazz influence here, a folk traditional influence there. Chord changes and rhythms are complex. Space is everywhere, providing delightful opportunities for the listener to catch up and sink in. In addition to being a fine instrumentalist, Craig writes attention-holding lyrics. By turns, charming, witty, and satirical, his eclecticism takes him from the frustrations of the small businessman to political greed, to youthful waywardness, and to finding time for love and life in a world beset by hurry. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce Craig Rafuse.
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here. By the time you are hearing this, this will be next weekend. We're recording this Sunday before. And last weekend I was here when we had the wonderful chili. What did we call it? The chili something or other. And that was just fantastic. And I got to play in Ted's band. And the weekend before that I was part of the golf ball pyramid. So I feel like I've been plugged into First E business lately. Looking forward to when we can all be back in the sanctuary here next year, apparently, before too long. At any rate, I'm going to, apparently this is in lieu of a talk or sermon, whatever we call it here. I'm going to sing songs and try not to talk too much, because I have a tendency to take up time with that. Anyway, I'm going to start with a song that I wrote during this COVID thing that we're still grappling with, and I call it Strains of Social Distance. Every time I heard the command, you know, maintain social distance, or I read it on the floor, I had an ironic thoughts that there's so much social distance that we actually do take. Of course, this is different. This is the physical social distance. But so I got a verse that is about COVID, and then a couple verses about some other ways in which we take social distance.
COVID came, lots of loosened screws, would not wear a mask, said it was fake news, washing hands of Ochs, 6-foot rule of ruse, vaccination top of their taboos. Questions spoken get answers from a phone, make us feel in touch though we sit alone, all jacked up to read what we haven't sown. Ask Alexa, ain't the way it's grown. Go gasoline, disconnect the dots, hurtle way too fast, or tie up in knots. And if looks could kill, road rage robots, menacing their malice aforethoughts.
I hope that wasn't too depressing, though. At any rate, that's what I do sometimes, you know, whatever it is that is going on around me and in me, I don't know, I write a little, you know, a line or two, and so that's how that came out. The second one, it's a little hard-hitting too. I hope I'm not offending anybody. I mean, but I know most people in First E would, this would be, you know, within their values. So, you know, before, you know, COVID came on top of this strange political, cultural thing, everybody angry with each other, and just it's really been hard, I think, for so many of us. And so I wrote this thing, and this is called While the Worst. Actually, I got the worst and the best thing out of the famous Yeats poem, Second Coming, where he talks, I can't remember quoted, but talks about the worst and the best. So, and I referenced that poem in here. Let's see. I'm gonna have to tune a little bit. Yeah. So you might want to edit some of this out here. I don't know. We'll see. Let me get the tuner going here. Oops. Actually, you know, Robert, I had considered maybe just reciting the words to this, although I do have some music. I don't know. I think maybe I'll do that because I think I'm just going to recite. It works as a poem too. While the worst intensely care, you and I had best beware. Those who cast the first stone, red hat, MAGA, minds blown, Q-a-nonsense, Twilight Zone. Lock her up, make her pay, same old witch hunt on display. Non-stop nutcase, loudmouth liars, preaching to the cuckoo choirs. Stoop to conquer and divide, easy marks fit to be tied, wrong turns taken for a ride. Promises not meant to keep, stall for naught, talk is cheap. And consequences take the place of truth left unsaid, unafraid to go where timid angels fear to tread. Demons tend the jaws of hell, frantic to be fed. Slouching toward disaster fates, forecast in that poem by Yeats, tiki torching, got no clues, flex their swastika tattoos, vow to kill all blacks and Jews. White House whistles all the rage, coax a rough beast from its cage. And then the final. Crazy makers, thunder rolling, claim their kingpin's crown was stolen. Therefore he need not concede, nor the rules of fair play heed. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, let it bleed. What a shit show up in smoke, on which we, the people, choke. There is music. Sometime I will do it with the music. I'm proud of that. I mean, that's, you know, it's a mouthful, but again, I hope I don't offend anybody, but not to, you know, I know Trump is sort of gone, not quite. This one I've sung here before, but not with these particular lyrics. It's a parody of how do you solve a problem like Maria, and I do it with, you know, Korea. But back, you remember early on in Trump's thing, when he and Kim Jong-un were, you know, like, daring each other, you know, and the rest of us are going like, holy shit, these guys, you know, they have nuclear weapons they're talking about. So at any rate, this is, with that adapted to this, so it's, Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un putting up their dukes, threaten to incinerate each other with their nukes. As above our heads a cartoon caption said, gadzooks, boasting that their bigly is the bigger. Both had made a show of being hugely off their nut. Yada yada, huff and puff, worse than Jabba the Hutt. Bullies on the playground in a mood to kick some butt. With an itchy trigger on, with an itchy finger on the trigger. Touchy, out of touch, and touch and go. On the verge of whoopee-tie-I-O. How do you solve a problem like Korea? Or a problem like the USA? Is it the old so long boys I'll see ya, and the nerve to say bombs away? Who remembers Nixon's madman theory, which he used to threaten Vietnam? I wanted the gooks to think that they were upon the brink of sailing off to Never, Never Land. Oh, how do you solve a problem like Korea? One thing's for sure, those clowns don't understand. Gonna have to scroll down here for the little next part. Once upon a time, in a sunny southern clime, Khrushchev placed some missiles off our shore, and a dashing JFK said that he'd go all the way, but he hoped that there was no one keeping score.
Now it comes to this as we skirt the precipice, and the cowardice compounds to flabbergast. Through every stupid blunder, one can only stop and wonder how much longer, how in thunder we can last. How do you solve a problem like Korea, or a problem like the USA? Is it the old "so long boys, I'll see ya," and the nerve to sing bombs away? Who remembers Nixon's madman theory, which he used to threaten Vietnam? I want the gooks to think that they were upon the brink of sailing off to Never, Never Land. Oh, how do you solve a problem like Korea? One thing's for sure, those jerks don't understand. Yeah. Alrighty, I'm getting a thumbs up from Robert, so that's great. Okay, enough with the, the politics really. So, how much time have we gone so far, would you say? Do I have time for two more or one more, do you think? Two more? Yeah. Okay. I've always been kind of a hermetic wisdom kind of guy, actually. I mean, I've read about alchemy my whole adult life. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I have. And, in that, the planets above, as above, so below, the planets and stars were considered to be, that we were composed of some things that are like that, And at any rate, many years ago I wrote this song called According to the Planets, and the book that really helped me the most was written by Thomas More, the Cure of the Soul guy. A lot of people probably read that, I did. He had this book called The Planets, which was about Marsilio Ficino's book called The Planets. And he was a guy that, de Medici, I can't remember his first name, but he had him on the payroll. He had him translating Plato, and then this batch of Hermetic writings came to light, and so he said, stop the Plato and do this. And I've read that. It's called the Corpus Hermeticum. Anyway, Thomas More's book talks about each of the planets and kind of what things within us that we're thought to be. And you find this in astrology to this day, but really when we think of astrology, we think of it as just like something that was separate from astronomy and superseded by astronomy. But back in the day, there was a deep bunch of stuff which really informed a lot of the people in the Renaissance. A lot of the good humanistic stuff that we all partake of comes from that. Anyway, I just had fun playing with some of the themes that are associated with the planets. And got a tune again. According to the Planets. And probably have to scroll down at some point. Yeah. Mercury on winged feet mingles far and wide, swiftly running messages cross the great divide. Flowers from a rising sun, gaga for your son. Better check first with your moon, for you jump the gun. Mars and Venus the beaten track. Saturn shuts you down, ha-ha, humor painted black. Change the game, Uranus makes you reassess. Take a hard look and admit that your life's a mess. Neptune casts a tempting lure, careful don't get caught. In the end, 'tis Pluto paid for the farm you bought. Bum, 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 and here comes the last verse. Sweep the cobwebs from the sky, reach for the light. As above, now so below, every day and night. Hot and cold winds ebb and flow, mountains kiss the sea. Earth, water, air and fire, sing this song in me. According to the planets. Actually, that's a recording of that is on the CD that Bill Fleming put out a couple years ago, the Get Off the Grid CD. And so it did get recorded in a studio with some wonderful musicians playing on it. And the last thing I'm going to do is called Boogie Love, and you may have either been to a boogie or heard about the boogie. There's several of them. Bill Fleming has been putting one on with his wife, Jacqueline, and others, me and a whole bunch of people. We've been doing this for almost 40 years, I think. And I've been playing with Bill in Expand Band. As of next year, it will be 40 years since we started that, you know, and we're still doing it once in a while, you know. We're actually, we play as well, as better than we ever have, actually, I think. I'm going to tune again and play you this song, Boogie Love, which I wrote as kind of an anthem, little theme song about what goes on there. It's kind of like a little mini Woodstock. And there's a lot of enthusiasm, let me tell you. So, and let me call it up. I should be able to remember this because I sing it all the time. But alrighty. Okay. Way out where there aren't any cops. Starts in 5 minutes and it never stops. There's a little place up in the woods, just a rockin' and a rollin' and a feelin' so good. The prettiest people you ever did see, shaking their bones at the jamboree. Ask a perfect stranger to paint your face. Beat on the drums and turn up the bass. Bob Vicente always turns it up here. Boogie all night in the key of Z. Breakfast in bed for 603. And when they ask you what's the first thing you know,
know, kind of people go off in a jam for a while. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to just bring it around and sing the last verse. You might come to torque your brain, maybe take a stroll down Lover's Lane, climb up a mountain and give a hoot, jump in the river in your birthday suit, grab a mic and recite a poem, boogie on down till the cows come home. The full moon and the stars above smile down upon our boogie love. The full moon and the stars above smile down upon our boogie love. Something like that. Thanks for having me. I've been playing in this building for, since like 1979. Always a treat to be here. See you soon. All right. Well, here we have a sing-along. I was looking through here and I saw that Phil Ochs song I used to sing. I loved Phil Ochs back in the day. And so it's, What's That I Hear? I think it's number 98 and on page 53 is what it says. So I'll give you a second to find it. And it's going to be, what's that I hear? 1, 2, 3, 4. What's that I hear ringing in my ear? I've heard it sound before. What's that I hear ringing in my ear? I've heard it more and more. It's the sound of freedom calling. It's ringing up to the sky. It's the sound of the old ways of falling. You can hear it if you try. You can hear it if you try. What's that I hear now? I'm sorry, let's try that again. 2, 3, 4. What's that I see now shining in my eyes? I've seen that light before. What's that I see now shining in my eyes? I see it more and more. It's the light of freedom calling, shining up to the sky. It's the light of the old ways falling. You can see it if you try. Repeat that. You can see it if you try. Third verse. What's that I feel now beating in my heart? I felt that beat before. What's that I feel now beating in my heart? I feel it more and more. It's the rumble of freedom calling, climbing up to the sky. It's the rumble of the old ways falling. You can feel it if you try. Once again there. You can feel it if you try.
Craig, thanks so much for being with us this morning and sharing of your wonderful talents. And again, thank you so much for being part of our Chili Chili E-Fest back on November 20th as well in person. We will be having our meet and greet immediately following this broadcast on Zoom, and if you would like to join us at that time, you can find the link for it in the chat section of today's broadcast. Next week we will be hearing from Reverend Marty Keller, and also hearing some new music from Aviva. So hopefully you can join us next week at 11 a.m. or right after this broadcast ends on Zoom today. Thanks so much for being with us, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.